Hi, so I saw Hell House LLC today, and I thought I would talk about it a little bit and give my thoughts on it. Um, First, I got to go into a little rant. I'm sorry. I know it seems like every time you come to my channel, you're getting a rant, but this one's due. I have two rants personally. Um, One is a nitpick. The other one is it's a rant. um, the main character, Vanessa. I don't remember the original trilogy all that well. I remember bits and pieces of it. They came out a while ago, and they came out, and I thought, well, okay, that was a decent trilogy, interesting ideas. The third one was wacky and bizarre. I didn't particularly care for the third one very much, but it capped off the trilogy quite well, and it was finished. So our main character Vanessa, she was in the previous movies. I got to be honest, I don't remember her in the previous films. I don't know if she was in the first one, second one, or the third one. I don't remember. Sorry, but she's going to a therapist about what happened at the Abaddon Hotel. And when she's leaving to the therapist's office, she sees somebody she knows named Bobby, and they just share a look at one another, and she goes on about her day. Well, Bobby later that night, he calls her and he says, "Look, I need to talk. I talked to somebody. They know stuff about the history of the town, maybe why we're being haunted, whatever." And he gets killed. We don't know how, but he's recording. He goes around through his house. He sees like a red ball popping all over his house, and he gets rid of the ball, and it shows up again. Very much like the Changeling with George C. Scott. Very much like that. And then he sees a clown. The fucking throwaway gag from the first film. That he sees him, and then we don't know what happens. So Vanessa gets a call from her therapist asking her to come into the office. And the therapist is like, well, Bobby's dead. No problem there. Okay. She goes, Bobby talked about you and what happened at the Abaddon in session. And that just threw me right out of the movie because you you're a therapist, psychiatrist, therapist, counselor. You can't talk about what you talked about in therapy. You just can't do it. That would get you. If someone found out, you'd lose your license, your career. You could possibly be sued. I mean, come on. That's some shit right there. You can't do that. And yet she does, and she's like, yeah, he talked about you in session, and he talked about he was seeing things, and she goes into the whole spiel. She might as well pull out the notes and start handing them out. And I got to be honest, this is within the first like 10, 15 minutes. It totally took me out of the movie, and the movie was never able to pull me back in. And the other nitpick I have is Vanessa's on the phone with her ex-husband, and he's like, I can't talk now. I'm going into a meeting. And he hangs up on her. And he hangs up on her, and she's like, Tom, Tom, Tom. That drives me crazy. I've seen it in other movies because when you're on the phone and somebody hangs up, you hear the little boop. So she would have heard the boop. She would have known she got hung up on, and her screen would have went back to like whatever it was before. So that kind of annoyed me a little bit, but you know, that was a nitpick. I don't think the therapy bit was a nitpick. I think that's a proper rant. I don't think you could get away with that. So what's this movie about? Well, Vanessa is coping with what happened at Hell LLC, or at Hell House, and she's drinking. She has a little she has a little bottle of booze she pours into her coffee. She's drinking her coffee, and they go into the history of the town. And I'm watching this movie, and I'm wondering who is this for, because it's certainly not for fans of the first three movies. And I'll tell you why. Because the first three movies were self-contained stories. They closed off the story. That was it. You had the first movie, the second movie, and the third one caps it off, and the movies are done. And they should have been done. And it just seemed like a cash grab. Like Shutter was like, "Hey, we'll give you more money to make another movie," and they were like, "Okay, great." But the downside is it's not found footage. And I feel like if you're a fan of the found footage style parts of the first three movies, you're not going to be a fan of this movie. In fact, this movie is completely different than the entirety of the trilogy before. And I just it feels like they were just grasping at straws to create this. This movie doesn't have a reason to exist. It's it's treading on old ground, and a lot of it you're like, really, you get the backstory of a clown that's in a clown dummy that's in the first movie. He might be in the other movies, but I remember him being in the first movie for a throwaway gag where they're coming down the stairs and they pass the clowns, and then they pass them again, and the clowns turn their heads, and that was kind of the extent of this guy. He's not even a cool looking villain clown, um, but yeah. So the movie just doesn't, for me, for my money, it didn't warrant existing, and I don't know who this was for. And I brings me back to my rant about Phantasm. Like, why are these people giving us stuff we didn't ask for? I don't know that there's another fan out there that was like, I would love another Hell House LLC movie. The trilogy was done, and it was okay. It wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't even like a major success where people were like, "Bravo, this was the best movie in the history of cinema. We need a fourth one." And it totally abandons the found footage that style that they had before. And I mean, I'm not the biggest found footage fan. I do like As Above, So Below, Blair Witch Project, The Last Broadcast. There's a couple other found footage movies that I really think are worth watching. But this one, it just doesn't do anything new. It's treading old ground. It's going over story beats we've gone through before, and I just, who asked for this? That's just what I want to know. Who asked for this? More importantly, who's enjoying it? If you like this movie, that's fine. Again, I've always said this before. If you see a movie and you enjoy it and you like it and I didn't, well, you found something good about it that I didn't, and that's good. But with this, I just didn't see any redeeming qualities. I didn't like any of the characters. Vanessa is just DOA. She's dead on arrival. She has no character presence whatsoever. I really struggle to get behind her. But so that's this movie. I'd give it a 1.5 out of 5 Robert Englands, because we scale movies on a Robert England scale on this channel. So yeah, that was Hell House LLC. I would say skip it if you're a big fan of the first three movies. I would say watch with extreme caution. But until then, I would say skip it, move on. There's other things you could watch. There's other spooky movies that you could watch on Shudder that you don't need to watch. I mean, watch Land of the Dead. Or Day of the Dead. That's a much better film. You could watch Zombie. You could watch The Beyond, House by the Cemetery, House of the Devil. You could watch 1,000 creepy movies on Halloween that don't have to be Hell House LLC Lineage. But I just wanted to throw this up here before Halloween. I'm not going to be posting on Halloween. I'm going to be watching movies and getting drunk probably. No, I will definitely be watching horror movies all day tomorrow and all night. So until then, remember, it is not the end of the world. Nope, it is just Halloween. Peace out and take care.